All right, so this is part 2, figurative language part 2. You should have already watched the first one, which was the must-have, the figurative language, which included metaphor, simile, personification, and sensory details. So if you didn't see that one, you should probably watch that first. Or maybe you already know those and you're just looking to add to your repertoire. The purpose of this video is to kind of give you some of the I wouldn't say lesser known, but probably not as frequently used figurative language methods. All right, so figurative language, another way of saying that is literary techniques. So a lot of teachers will use those interchangeably. And why do we do figurative language? Well, you're saying something other than what is literally meant for effect. It's a way of saying more, right? So you can say like my floor was wet, or you can say my floor was as wet as a flash flood, and that kind of gives you an image of just how wet it was. Obviously the purpose is to kind of give the reader a better understanding of what you're trying to say and just to add some spice and color to your writing. There are many types of figurative language approaches, all different kinds of literary techniques. This is supposed to be kind of some of the basics that you hear a lot about in school. So today we're going to be talking a lot about the sound ones, the ones that are supposed to create sounds with how you read it. And then there's one extra kind of thrown in there for fun. So we've got rhythm, rhyme, and repetition. Those are the 3 R's that create sounds in your poetry or your writing. Automatopoeia is fun. It kind of crosses the line between sound and meaning technique. It's a little bit of both. Alliteration, another sound one. And then hyperbole is a meaning one, but it's just really fun and really easy to do. So we just thought we'd throw that in there too. And these can all be really great fun additions to any poem or story. So let's go ahead and start with rhythm. Rhythm is often combined with other techniques, but it does deserve its own moment. The definition is the long and short patterns through stressed and unstressed syllables. So the way you place the words kind of creates a sing-song rhythm. If you watch the video about poetry types, there are a couple of poetry types that absolutely require rhythm, such as limericks. We talked about the da-dum, da-dum, da-dum with that one. There's also the poem The Night Before Christmas, which has a wonderful rhythm. So that's "'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas would soon be there." Soon would be there. See, I said it wrong, and actually the way they wrote it actually had the correct rhythm. So the way they place the words, that it creates that kind of swaying beat. Rhythm is easily confused with rhyme. So most poems with rhythm have rhyme, but that isn't always the case, especially with some songs. So let's go ahead and talk about rhyme really quick. Rhyme is a repetition of similar sounds or the same sound at the ends of 2 or more words. So sometimes they can be exact, sometimes they can be really close. Either way, we call that rhyme. An example, obviously, is lots of nursery rhymes. They're called nursery rhymes for a reason. Mary had a little lamb, its fleece was white as snow, and everywhere that Mary went, the lamb was sure to go. It followed her to school today, which was against the rule. It made the children laugh up and play to see a lamb at school. And so the teacher turned it out, but still it lingered near and waited patiently about till Mary did appear. So I chose this, first of all, because everybody knows it. Secondly, it's a classic example of couplets. So each of these lines rhyme. So it's called a couplet. Snow, go, rule, school, near, appear. They rhyme in pairs, so they're couplets. And you can kind of get an idea of rhyme scheme. The words that rhyme are assigned the same letters. So this is A, A, B, B, C, C. Rhyme is easily confused with repetition. Words that are exact same do not rhyme. That's repetition. So there are a lot of hip-hop artists who will use the same word at the end of every line, and that builds great rhythm, but it's not considered rhyme. Like, it's just the same word over and over again, okay? And then repetition, like we were saying, repeats the same word or phrases a few times to make an idea clearer or to build rhythm. Again, in songs, they will repeat the same word or phrase a lot, especially in the chorus or refrain or the hook, and that is to create a sound. So one of the most famous examples of repetition is Emily Dickin's poem, I'm Nobody. She does that in the first stanza. She says, I'm nobody, who are you? Are you nobody too? So right there, she uses the word nobody twice to really make you think about, wow, like why is she choosing that word to not only describe herself, but to describe this kind of kindred spirit that she's come across. Repetition is easily confused with rhyme. Like we said, repetition only involves the exact same word, whereas rhyme is very similar at the end. Okay. Onomatopoeia, lots and lots of fun. Almost as much fun to use as it is to say. So you say it, onomatopoeia, onomatopoeia. A word that phonetically imitates or suggests the source of the sound it describes. So when you think about like comic books, when somebody punches and it says like bap, bash, bam, like those are all onomatopoeia. It's supposed to be a word that imitates a sound. So some examples are water plops into pond, splish, splash downhill, warbling magpies in tree, trilling melodic thrill. So plop, you can hear the water, right? Like plop, plop, splish, splash down here. Psh, 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 psh. All those words are supposed to imitate the sound. Whoosh, passing breeze, flags flutter and flap, frog croaks, bird whistles, babbling bubbles from tap. So the whoosh, right? The flags flap. All these words are supposed to imitate sounds. Onomatopoeia, for some reason, people get it messed up with alliteration. I think because alliteration also makes a sound, even though it's not describing a sound, and they're both kind of about sounds. So onomatopoeia, just think comic books, right? Think old school Batman, stuff like that. Pow, pow, pow. Hyperbole is all over the internet nowadays. Hyperbole is an extravagant statement not intended to be taken literally. So things like, I'm so hungry I could eat a horse, I have a million things to do, I had to walk 15 miles to school in the snow uphill, I have a ton of homework, if I can't buy that new game, I will die. And then like something people do on social media all the time is they'll say, oh my god, dying. Or like, oh my god, laugh out loud, rolling on the floor laughing. You're not actually doing those things. That's an exaggeration. That's hyperbole. If you actually died all the times you've typed or texted, oh my god, dying, you would have probably died 15 times by now. Like that's an exaggeration. And that's called hyperbole. People mess this up with metaphor. If it's like a huge exaggeration that's supposed to be kind of funny, that's when you know it's hyperbole. So like, this is the worst school in the whole world. No, it's not. That's a hyperbole. You're just mad. Probably me. Alliteration is repeated consonant sounds at the beginning of words. So lots of tongue twisters are alliterations. Over here you see one. Peter Piper picked a pack of pickled peppers. So the pa sound. Alliteration is also great when you're trying to come up with names for companies or products or different ideas. So all of these are examples of different companies that use alliteration. Dunkin' Donuts, duh. PayPal, Best Buy, Coca-Cola, LifeLock, Park Place, American Apparel, American Airlines, Chuck E. Cheese's, Bed Bath & Beyond, Krispy Kreme. They do that because it's easy to remember. So that's a great thing about alliteration in your own writing is if you want the reader to remember what you're saying, throw some alliteration in there. Especially if you're doing hip-hop, put it in your hook. Alliteration, again, not quite sure why, but a lot of students mess this up with onomatopoeia, so don't do that. All right, quick slide of notes of everything we've talked about. So if you want to pause the slide, and that way I'm trying to find a place where I can put my face, I'm not in the way. There we go. Pause the slide so you can write down everything we've discussed. And then we have a quick skill check. You're going to identify the figurative language techniques used. It's going to be one of the ones we've discussed, not the ones from the previous figurative language part 1. It's all going to be from this one. And I also did not include rhythm in the choices because I feel like rhythm can be a lot of different things. So hopefully that'll ease it up for you. As always, reach out if you have questions. Good luck.